Hello everyone, welcome to Tambarara. My name is Sharon and today I'm joined by Elizabeth Valerio Tasak, the president of FOUZA, which stands for United
Zimbabwe Alliance.
Today we're going to be talking much more about politics, and as we have gotten into election season, March 26 by-elections. Welcome to Tambarara, ma'am.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Maybe if you can just tell us more about just a brief background about yourself.
So on a personal level, I'm a safari operator. I've been living for almost a decade now in Hwange.
Okay.
But I was born in Harare. I have a background in science.
Right.
I was actually educated as a biochemist.
Okay.
And so returned to Zimbabwe after studying abroad and working for a short time as a scientist. I work and live with wildlife primarily, but I've also worked quite a bit in the science education sector. So I've implemented projects that help young people to learn science. So science, technology, engineering, and math, which is STEM, is a big part of what I work on as well.
Okay. And then what made you divert from a whole science person into getting into politics?
Yes, yeah. So it's an interesting journey, and sometimes your path changes unexpectedly.
Okay.
So I've been very much established in the sector that I've been working in. But about a couple of years ago, I became a little bit more aware of what was happening in Zimbabwe with regards to the environment. And I think it's no big secret that there is a lot of exploitation of our conservation spaces, and I became very aware of this and got involved in some efforts within our region in Hwange to try to protect wildlife spaces. I am, as you know, in the past year, I got to know quite a number of people, and we were working really on a strategy to try to protect wilderness spaces across Zimbabwe. Particularly, a big concern of mine is the mining sector. I'm looking at, you know, how that is going to impact spaces that are protected, you know, in terms of tourism. So as a tourism operator, this was one area that I got very involved with. About a year ago, I started to speak with people about creating a pressure group, and the idea was to try to educate the public about the importance of protecting wildlife and protecting the spaces where wildlife lives. We came together 29 May 2021 with the idea of trying to explore ways to create pressure on the government to try to protect and conserve spaces. And it's not just wilderness spaces, but also cultural spaces. I think you know, there are a lot of spaces or areas where there's a lot of history involved for our country, and we wanted to make sure those spaces were being looked after. Well, 29 May, when I sat down with a group of about 30 individuals, people from across the country, we started having discussions about the deeper issues within Zimbabwe. And you know, some of the factors that came up was, of course, the poverty within our country, the challenges we face with regards to, you know, the economic sector, you know, individuals who are young growing up in this country not being able to find jobs, and all these issues sort of converged in a discussion around how do we improve the conditions within Zimbabwe. And we decided at that gathering that we were going to create, rather than a pressure group, a government which would replace the current government and create a brighter future for Zimbabwe. And so that's really what we've been working on. I now serve as the president of the United Zimbabwe Alliance, which is a political party. We're very active in terms of citizens' engagement, which is really at the core of the ideology that we have as UZA. We're saying what we really want to do is help to unite the country. We want to see a Zimbabwe where every citizen has a voice, where every citizen's needs are considered, where every citizen has the same opportunity to thrive. So we are looking at a completely different future for Zimbabwe, a way for us to ensure that Zimbabweans participate in the transition to a better future.
Okay. Well, you mentioned about having a pressure group, the group of people you met when you were talking about the exploitation that was happening. Did you approach government, and what was the response like?
Yes, so look, I operated Safari, which is right outside Hwange National Park. And at the time, there was a lot of anxiety in the tourism sector in Hwange because the Chinese had been granted the right to go and mine for coal within the park. So as a tourism sector, we came together and we put together an appeal to the government.
Okay.
And in that appeal, we used all sorts of platforms. We were prepared to go to see the current government, to meet with them face to face. I personally sat in a meeting with government officials within the Hwange region, and we explained to them all of the reasons. We literally articulated why mining within a national park was not going to be conducive. It would affect people's livelihoods. Investors who've actually put funds towards building and creating infrastructure for the tourism sector would be hugely affected. But also just the coexistence of mining and tourism just doesn't make sense. We actually also created a document which we sent forward to the current president, appealing to them to stop. And the cabinet did reverse the ruling and did take a position of saying no mining would occur within Hwange National Park, for which we were very grateful.
Oh, that's good. And you mentioned about you creating jobs, like the unemployment rate is just a bit high. What would you do as UZA? How are you going to go about it? How are you going to do that?
Yeah, it's quite disheartening when you speak with young people, and I've spent a lot of time the last few weeks meeting young people and women, across Zimbabwe who, are sitting at home. They're literally saying we are seated, we have nothing to do, and we've seen now our young people are getting into drugs because they are, they're losing hope. We as UZA have been very proactive. We're saying even before we enter government, we will be ensuring that there are programs in place, and I'm working on this already, where we are creating entrepreneurial ventures for young people. There's a project which I personally lead. It's called Atlas. And what Atlas is, it's an organization or it's a company that's building other companies. And so by the end of 2022, we have a challenge which we've placed upon all of the leadership within UZA, and that is that we will create 30 companies. These companies are going to be for-profit companies. They must be sustainable, viable entities. What we want is a situation where young people, women, men within society are creating jobs. They're all taking part in this. So we have a 10-day training program that they go through. It's an intense business training experience. After 10 days, the individuals that have the greatest ideas they'll present a business plan. Everyone has an opportunity to do that, but we're looking for the best ideas, and we'll fund those ideas and enable these entrepreneurs to create companies. We have a entrepreneurial space that we're building, which is an incubation space, where we will be providing the facilities, the equipment, everything that's needed, including a backup team for marketing and all the rest of it, to help shape the brands and the products that these individuals would want to make. But we're not stopping there. We're saying at the community level as well. We want to go down to the communities and work with people who have ideas for engaging the youth, engaging our community members in productive, income-generating projects. In Hwange, I've done this for a number of years already. I have a whole research hub that we've created. I'm very interested also in looking at leveraging indigenous knowledge. So natural medicines are in my opinion, a high potential space as well. But I could keep talking. There's so much. So we have a lot of plans, and in addition to that, of course, I think it's going to be important for us to work on skills education. We need to help ensure that people see the opportunities that exist. I happen to be one person that's a bit different in terms of Zimbabwe. A lot of people say there are no jobs, there are no opportunities. I see nothing but opportunity. I think we just need to look at what are our needs and stop looking abroad or looking outside of Zimbabwe for these solutions.
Now, I see from the way you're talking, you're more focused on the youth. Your concern is the youth. Your heart beats for the youth. How many candidates have you fielded for the by-election?
That's a great question, thank you. So as a new political party, we've taken a very bold move, and we've already fielded 4 candidates. So we have 2 in Harare, so Kuwadzana East, and then also we have a candidate in Harare East. And so in the second province for us is Midlands. We're in Midlands, and we have 2 candidates, Mbizo and Kwekwe Central. All of our candidates are youth. They are all under 35 years old. They are all vibrant individuals with bright ideas. They want to be part of the solution for Zimbabwe.
Okay.
And I think it really demonstrates that we are not looking necessarily at someone's political history. It's a completely new vision for Zimbabwe. We are saying who's coming to the table with the best ideas, the right energy to try to change. And also we are looking at a very different approach to politics. Our ideology is citizens' engagement, and anchored around that, we are saying we are a non-violent political party. We want to place the citizens at the center of everything we do. So engaging the citizens in finding the solutions is a big part of what we want to do. We spend a lot of time having dialogue with individuals, whether it's in a high-density area in Harare or if we are in, Mashingo. We are constantly dialoguing with citizens, and I think a lot of people are a little bit surprised because they're used to being told what the future looks like. We're saying, Zimbabweans, let's work together. Our slogan even says, let's unite as we build Zimbabwe, or ngatibatane tichiwaka Zimbabwe. So it's all about bringing the citizens together. We do not discriminate based on where people come from. We believe that each province, each constituency, each ward has to come up with their own solutions. So very much about ensuring that there is leadership within each area to build and create the future of Zimbabwe rather than everything being centralized.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. You know what? You've been talking about citizens, conventions, and now that we have another citizens coalition party that has come up, what are your thoughts about how you didn't think of joining hands with other opposition parties?
So the question does come up quite often, and look, we believe in a politically plural Zimbabwe. I think everyone has a role to play. There is no government where you can say 100% of the leadership is all from one political party. I think, as UZA, we are very ambitious, and we are saying, yes, we want to build an entire new government. We want every single constituency, every single ward, every councillor role must have an UZA representative, and we're asking the citizens of Zimbabwe to vote for those candidates. But, in reality, there will be a government with representatives from different political parties. I don't think that building a dialogue with other political parties means that we have to now be one political party. UZA has a very different ideology from any other political party in Zimbabwe. I think that we are very open to individuals joining us so long as they align with our political party. A lot of people ask if we are going to become part of POLAD, for example. We've made a decision as an executive that we will never be part of POLAD. We have a very clear path that we are forging for Zimbabwe as a future. And so we want to ensure that anyone and everyone who becomes part of our path is aligned with what we are doing. We're being approached by a number of leaders from other political parties, and of course there's a lot of interest in trying to see how we can work together. We're having conversations, but ultimately UZA has its own way forward for our country.
Okay. So what are your ambitions, really? Are you going to be running for president, MP, or?
Thank you. I am running for president in 2023. I will be the next president of Zimbabwe. I'm standing, with a lot of confidence, knowing that it's time for a woman. I think Zimbabwe has seen 40 years of challenge. Our nation is not evolving. We are not seeing the future we all envisioned. Many people, my mother included, struggled for this country. Many people wanted to see a Zimbabwe where every citizen would have a much better outlook. When I travel and I see children right now struggling to get to school because their parents don't have school fees, or you hear of families going without food, saying we don't have food, we don't have clean water coming to our homes. Look, it's time for us to have something very, very different. I am very confident that as president of Zimbabwe, I can create a better future for our entire nation. And it's going to take all of us working together. My mom was the first woman in Africa to run for president, in Africa. First woman in Zimbabwe. She stood in elections. Her focus was with the grassroots. She focused primarily on the underprivileged, the underrepresented in our society.
Okay.
But she was a businesswoman, a viable, enterprising woman, much ahead of her time.
Okay.
Sometimes destiny chooses your future for you.
Well before.
Well before. In hindsight, I realized that I was born for this.
Is it? So we could actually say politics runs in your blood. You're talking about your mother. She was in politics. Do you mind mentioning her name?
My mom's name was Isabel Shanangurai Madangure.
Okay.
She was from Mashingo. A lot of people look at me and wonder, this foreigner is coming to run Zimbabwe. I'm from Mashingo. My traditional home is Great Zimbabwe. I am like every other citizen concerned about the future of our country. And I want to see a Zimbabwe where, when I travel abroad, people won't shake their heads and say, shame, you're from Zimbabwe. And that's the response I get most often is, shame. But look, Zimbabwe is one of the richest countries in Africa. It's one of the richest countries in the world.
Yes.
I challenge anyone to tell me differently. We have everything we need to provide a much different future, a much different life for our people. We've got elderly citizens right now in Zimbabwe who are abandoned, essentially abandoned. There are a lot of members of society who I think are going voiceless right now. So we're saying, look, let's involve everyone in shaping the future. We're having a conference in a few days, which is specifically for our disabled members of society. And they have ideas. They want to do things and contribute productively to our society. So let's create a path for that. Let's pave the way for a more productive future. Again, I'm not looking at a dependent Zimbabwe. I'm saying let's all stand up and work and do what's necessary to build a better future. And that's why economically we are saying we will start now, already have started, to build something which is viable, sustainable, income generating for the citizens of Zimbabwe.
Yeah. And then do you have a manifesto as yet?
We are working on a very comprehensive manifesto. Okay. What we did as an executive, and so our leadership within UZA is called the Executive Directorate. Okay. And what we did as an executive is we outlined priorities which are anchored on sustainable development. And these priorities encompass all aspects of the manifesto that we need as a political party. As we enter government, the manifesto that we are shaping, and it's being drafted as we speak, is being written with the input of the citizens. So citizens' engagement, again, being the ideology of UZA, we have dialogue, whether it's on social media or in person, and we're asking the citizens, okay, with regards to the agricultural sector, what do we want to do? What action do you want implemented when we are in government? What can we do now as a political party, a government in waiting? What can we do to start shaping the path towards a more productive agricultural sector, or whatever focus area it might be? We know that we as Zimbabwe still don't currently have a currency. It's encompassed in our manifesto. So these sections, some of them are not publicly released just yet. They are in draft format, but they are being drafted and sent forward to our membership for review, and individuals are debating and having conversations about what this manifesto would look like. Another important document we worked on right at the outset was our constitution, and we do have a constitution that is very sound. Certainly as a new political party, you're looking at how you are going to engage membership throughout the country as well as around the world. And so we're very proud of the document that we drafted very early on with regards to the structure of our political party, and it seems to be working very well in terms of the rollout of our party.
All right, and then how are you funding your candidates?
Zimbabwe, for politics to be successful, it does require quite a lot of funding. We are saying citizens are really at the core of that. So everything, again, just anchors around our citizens' engagement. It's a citizens-funded political party. We're not going to sell, our assets or anything in particular to ensure that we put forward our agenda. The citizens are stepping up. We've got individuals who are not only in Zimbabwe but around the world who say, look, we want to see something better for Zimbabwe, and we've paved the way for that. So it's membership.
Okay.
It's primarily centered around individuals who affiliate with us. We've got a growing database of members. UZA is growing very, very fast. Faster than we actually ever imagined, but we have an ambitious plan to engage 6.5 million people.
Wow.
Before elections 2023.
That's a big number.
So they will help us to reach our goal in terms of funding as well.
Okay.
It is a big number. It is a big number, but when you look at what we need to do to ensure that we have the votes to succeed as a new government, it's going to take that many people.
Okay. And okay, you're coming in an environment where people have decided, we only have two parties in Zimbabwe. It's a fact that people think it's ZANU-PF or it's MDC. Back then it was MDC, now it's now Triple C, Nelson Chamisa. How are you going to penetrate? How do you see it? How do you view yourself in it?
So I think right now, if you look at all the turbulence that's happening in Zimbabwe, people are desperate to see something different. And I think people are taking a position one way or another because they don't have any other viable third alternative. UZA comes in as that viable alternative. For the first time, Zimbabwe has the ability to choose a different political party. For the first time, we have a way forward for Zimbabwe. And I think that's probably one of the reasons we've not progressed as a nation. You look at all the things, all the ambitions, all the promises that were made for us to progress as a society, as a nation. We're not getting there. And that's because we've not had this viable other option. UZA is that. It's time. 2023, I think, is going to be a really interesting election because we are not a small political party anymore. UZA is much bigger than people realize. We are not a noisy political party. As I said, we're not violent. We've taken a stance of not spending our time criticizing or attacking other political parties. Politically plural Zimbabwe is what we want to see. So we're not doing a lot in terms of creating visibility for ourselves on social media. I think that is the next phase, naturally, as a political party. It's something we're working on developing towards. But we've spent most of our time working at the grassroots, meeting people, speaking with individuals, and there's an awareness that there's a new party. So when and as we move towards elections, it'll become much more clear that people are very much choosing the third way. UZA is that place.
Okay, all right. And how has the economic environment received you as a woman? It's not easy as a female president, aspiring candidate, to be rubbing shoulders with other political parties. We've seen other women that have eventually they drop out of the race or they just give up. But what makes you unique?
I think all my life I've rubbed shoulders with men. I've stood up and worked with men. I've created a voice for myself amidst men. I don't know why, but that doesn't really, I don't view it as a disadvantage. I think being a woman is actually a strength that I bring to the table.
Okay.
Women's voice, I think, is much needed. Interestingly enough, in terms of the voter response, the electorate, a lot of us are women, and we are wanting to see a future that's different, and a lot of men too and youth are stepping forward and saying it's time for a mother. A mother will change the future for our country. We know that, the first place we go whenever we are in pain, we go to a mother.
And there's a saying that says if you give anything to a woman, it changes. It brings value.
Absolutely. So we are doing that as UZA, and as a woman leading UZA, I think diversity is important.
Yes.
And we all have different perspectives. I learn from the men in our party, but I bring my own views, my own perspective, my own insight as well. So, there's nothing about entering the man's arena that really frightens me. I think I'm ready for it. And, we at the end of the day are here to highlight a different future, a different perspective.
And what are your views about the economic trajectory?
Yeah, Zimbabwe is, one of the most high opportunity economies in the world. We've got everything we need, but I think our political environment is really the biggest hindrance. We've got individuals in Zimbabwe. If you look at almost every person, out of 10 people, and you talk to 10 people in Zimbabwe, 7 are entrepreneurs in some regard. We're a very enterprising nation. At the highest level of our economy, we've got individuals who are Zimbabwean, born here, raised here, and are actually building economies in other countries, building companies in other countries. So I think, for Zimbabwe, our biggest challenge, what we've got to look at is how do we change the dynamic in terms of creating a stable economic environment. We work right now in an environment where tomorrow policies can be changed literally overnight. And that's the reality of working in Zimbabwe. You invest in a business, you grow a company, and literally overnight things change, whether it's from the banking sector, the financial sector, literally is so volatile. We've got high inflation, we've got a lot of things we need to bring in order. It starts with regaining confidence in terms of the financial sector. We've got to make sure that we enable entrepreneurs to have that confidence, to put forward the effort, to invest. I also happen to think it doesn't mean that we are looking only for investors from abroad. I think we should start focusing on homegrown innovations. I think some of the best and the brightest inventors live in this country. We just haven't found them. We haven't capacitated them. We need to work on our research and development approach. We need to make sure we capacitate universities in a better way, making sure that the R&D that comes from there spawns innovation. We need more collaboration between academia and industry to make sure that we change the outlook for our economy. But it starts with government. It starts with proper leadership. It starts with making sure that, when you look at the future of Zimbabwe, you know that it's going to be predictable and stable. And that really starts with a change in government. And that's why we're saying, ultimately, we are working on a complete and total change in government in Zimbabwe as UZA. We're building a new government, and we will do everything we can to bring the best, the brain trust that we've lost back to Zimbabwe, to rebuild our economy, to make sure that we change the future in terms of our financial outlook. We want to see a day where we have our own currency again. We once had a very strong currency here in Zimbabwe. We're now operating with bond notes. It's a very different economic environment when you don't even have a currency to speak of.
That's true. You being, you're like, when we're talking about other political parties, some people, actually there's been talk that maybe you're a project. You've come to split the vote, you've come to divide our votes. Why not join Triple C? Why not join MDC or something like that? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, look, Zimbabwe's had that history of a lot of individuals who come into politics for the wrong motives. Mm-hmm. I'm a very established person. I have everything that I need in life. I would never enter an arena that can destabilize my life in this way unless it was genuinely for the benefit of our country. I am, 100% committed to replacing the government, the current government. And I've said oftentimes, look, they've given their best, they've tried, but I think it's time for a completely new blood. New blood, yeah. We need young leadership. Mm-hmm. We need leaders who have a different vision. So I'll say very plainly, there are other political parties. Zimbabweans have to choose. We've had even some of the existing opposition parties, and by the way, we don't call ourselves an opposition party. Okay. We say we're a government in waiting. Right. We're a government in waiting because we're not here to oppose anyone, right? They've had their opportunities.
You're here to take up leadership.
We're here to replace the government of Zimbabwe. We're here to create a new government that can then step in and replace what is there today. And so whether that is the current MDC, who is in government, or ZANU-PF, who is in government, we are here as a new political party to put forward our leaders. It's a democracy, right? Yeah. So we have the right to say we are choosing our own leadership and we are putting forward our own leadership. I'll go back to your question about why not join an existing political party. As someone who has never been involved in politics before UZA, I can say I've studied and analyzed the ideologies of the other political parties. I've also seen what has been done. I believe in track record, hey?
Yes.
So if you've had the opportunity to demonstrate and be part of a government, and still there's no change in our future outlook, why would I go down that same road? So I'm saying UZA has its own ideology, which was shaped by citizens.
Mm-hmm.
We all came together and said, this is what we need, what's lacking in our country, what we need as a future. And I believe and support that. I embrace it. I happen to have been chosen by the citizens that met at that inaugural meeting as the president. It's not something I sought out. You know, it's an exciting journey. Before UZA, I was very stressed. I was extremely stressed because I could see that Zimbabwe was going nowhere. And, you know, I'm an environmentalist, I'm a conservationist, you know, and I think of the impact and, you know, the effect of what is happening with the current exploitation of Zimbabwe. There's not a lot of effort being put towards restoring our country and ensuring and preserving what we have in terms of our natural resources. And so I was incredibly stressed about where we were headed. If we go down this road for another 5 to 10 years, Zimbabwe won't be the country it is today. We are one of the most vibrant nations in terms of tourism opportunities. You know, we have an incredible amount of opportunity in terms of science and technology research. We can do anything we set our mind to doing here. We could be a role model for the entire continent of Africa if we do it right.
Okay.
So I was stressed. Now I'm actually very excited because I know that the future is bright. We're going to shape a much different outlook for our country.
Yeah, because I can see from the way I'm talking to you and conversing with you, you're very confident and, well, I see you're very bold and you're fearless. You're up for the struggle. You're really up for it.
I am my mother's daughter.
Okay.
That's, I think, the only way to put it. If you knew my mom, she was one of the first women to become a businesswoman, a Shona woman, a black Zimbabwean woman, one of the first women in a segregated society to push forward and become a businesswoman. She was very enterprising and she saw no barriers. People said women weren't supposed to drive vehicles in those days. She drove a truck. I am my mother's daughter. I believe in a very different you know, role for us as women. But of course, I also respect tradition. You know, I have a lot of respect for my husband. Our family structure is very important to me. I think, you know, we need to go back to respecting our values as Zimbabweans.
Yes.
I think a lot of Zimbabweans, we've become so focused on survival. You know, it's almost like almost every Zimbabwean is hustling to survive.
That's true.
So I want to see a future where we go back again to celebrating our culture, celebrating who we are as Zimbabweans. You know, think about what it means to be Zimbabwean.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to other countries and you hear about culture and what people represent, we've lost a lot of that. It's been eroded because of, you know, a lot of us having to go across borders to survive, or, you know, just the mere fact that we're constantly just thinking about how to put food on the table. So let's go back to that family values and making sure that we have a balance, you know, balance as citizens of Zimbabwe.
So you're talking about culture. Sorry, if you like from Mashingo, would you go Mabira? No, it's a Mabira.
Yeah, Saga, in the way I was raised, right? I was raised Kwarari, right? Very much in a city society. But my wango I got you know, I was told, Lizzie, you must have tsika. Tsika is very important, you know. So of course we respect our traditions.
Okay.
You know, I wish very much that my mother was alive because, you know,
she would see what
yes.
the woman you become.
But there are women in our family who, you know, we've got Anamai, many mothers, and, you know, I am trying my best to reconnect, of course, with our culture. But I'm like, you know, so I will always respect and embrace our culture.
Good. You said you're not a violent political party. And let's look at the situation that happened in Kwekwe with Nelson Chamisa's supporters.
Yeah.
Some of them are dead. Then let's say it's an election. You win an election and you know you've won outrightly, but then it's disrupted violently. Are you going to stand for your people? Are you going to defend the vote? Are you going to go on the street? and say, no, look, we're not going to be rigged like this. This is enough, we are taking it to the streets. Are you prepared to do that?
Yeah, so UZA as a political party, we are not going to be protesting. We are very serious when we say we are a non-violent political party. But we are not we are a bold political party. And what we are saying is we are going to hold the authorities accountable. We want to ensure that we're not only meeting individuals one by one. We've had events. We've had, last year I actually toured 22 towns. We had what we called a Meet the President forum, where we had over 100 people coming to every event. We engaged the local police as well as, the various regulatory authorities within each town to make sure we were coming. I am appealing to Zimbabwean citizens, because I think ultimately it comes down to us as Zimbabweans to respect each other's rights. We as UZA are encouraging individuals, go out, register to vote for UZA. You must turn up to vote for UZA on election day. But we are also going to make sure we have people at every single poll station, holding accountable the individuals who are there at the polls. They will make sure that those voting experiences are transparent. We want to make sure those ballots don't go somewhere else and get rigged, right? So we are not going to be completely mild in our approach on voting day. We will make sure that every poll station has enough representation. I think we've seen an example in Zambia where the youth turned out, but it doesn't mean you have to get violent. If you are there, your presence is there in numbers sufficiently. I think you can make a statement which clearly says, let's be fair. Let's make sure that if the current government is not selected at a poll, then whoever is selected, the citizens have chosen. And let's make sure there are people there to hold that, accountability in place. It's going to be an interesting election, and I going back to the issue of what happened in Kwekwe, it really pains me to see Zimbabweans fighting against Zimbabweans. It doesn't make any sense. What are we fighting for? We're fighting for a better Zimbabwe. We're fighting because we, in our own view, believe we want what is right for our country. Some are fighting perhaps with an agenda, but let's become informed and educated. And I think if anything, that is our number one objective as UZA, is to educate the citizenry, whether they are across the aisle with another political party or with UZA. We will talk to everyone and try to get them to understand. Voting is a choice. It's something that every citizen has a right to do. And in voting and choosing a political party, we are choosing the next government. Some people have this option where they say, well, you know what, it's too difficult, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to sit at home, I'm not going to vote. But kusavota, it's voting, right? If you don't vote, you are also making a choice, and you are voting, because you're just letting someone else make the choice for you, essentially. So what we're saying is, every citizen, whatever party you are with, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about the future Zimbabwe we want. And that includes people who are in the armed forces. That includes our security sector. Let's talk about the kind of country we want to live in. Is this what we want? A future where our young people are fighting with each other? I mean, I feel so much pity for the family that lost, a loved one over a rally. It's really sad. I really, and for everyone that was hurt or injured during that rally. It's not the way it's supposed to be. We are there to learn about our candidates, whether it's learning about Nelson Chamisa or learning about Elizabeth Valerio. We have the right to do that. So let's be different. Let's mature as a nation. Zimbabwe was always known as that country that was peace-loving. I've never known Zimbabwe to be like this.
Doesn't it come
the
back?
The citizens. I'm talking in terms of the citizens. There's history and there's all sorts in terms of the violence within this country. But in terms of the citizens, we've always been known as people who are peace-loving, non-violent individuals. So I'm appealing to the citizens of Zimbabwe and saying, please, let's choose our future, but choose it, with your vote.
But don't you think people are tired now? Doing the same thing over and over again? Doesn't it result into provocation and,
Yeah, I think ultimately we've been doing the same thing over and over again and making the same choices. And doing that doesn't change anything. So choose something different. Choose UZA.
Okay.
That's what it really comes down to.
All right, maybe my last question to you, what resonates you from an ordinary person What did you resonate? How did you resonate with us, like the ordinary people?
I think I am an ordinary person. A lot of people see me. I am one of Zimbabweans. Ordinary people.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting dynamic in politics in Zimbabwe. We always view individuals in politics as separate or different. And I think that needs to change as well. I think it's not about one person. It's about an entire government. It's about everyone having a role and society playing a very important part of that in terms of holding individuals accountable. As a candidate, as the next president of Zimbabwe, I want the Zimbabwean people to hold me accountable. So I don't think I'm different. I'm just someone who is more driven perhaps than most. I've achieved a lot. I've built businesses from nothing. I'm an inventor. I've got a patent under my name. So I am determined. I put in long days. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to achieve what I want to see done. I always say to our leadership, I am a person of action. I don't want to just talk a lot, which is why you won't often see me talking a lot or doing a lot of interviews. I believe in action, and you'll see by the results of what we do. But please, don't view me as different. I am a citizen just like everybody else. I have pain and concern for family members. I've got family members, some of whom you see on the surface, they look like they're well and they've got all things going for them, but they can't get a hospital to go to when they get sick. They can't get enough money at the end of the month, even though they're working, to get enough food for their families. They're struggling. And they come to you with humility and saying, please help me. I have family members too who, have children who've gone to schools, universities even. They've sacrificed to put them through university and they can't get jobs. I'm just like everybody else. I grew up with a mother who started her first business, Highfields. She built another business, Kwaseke. I've, grown up in communal areas. I've seen what life is in our country. I'm very much a part of this country. I want to see a day where I can celebrate with the people who right now are looking at Zimbabwe and saying it's hopeless, and see them celebrating a change that is productive, that really, I want to see smiles on the faces of Zimbabweans again. That's really ultimately.
And your family, does your family support you? Your husband, your kids? They're all in support?
My family is incredibly supportive.
That's lovely.
I wouldn't be doing this otherwise. As I'm traveling across Zimbabwe and, I spend very little time at home now, but my husband continues to work and support and work and really keep everything going. So I'm very blessed to have the full support of my family.
All right, maybe you can explain your symbol, what your symbol means, your party symbol. And your slogan? Yes,
so when we met 29 May 2021 as a group, I think there were people sitting around the table and they were from all political backgrounds. Some of them had even been part of other political parties. And so we wanted very much to create a symbol which represented all citizens, regardless of your background, regardless of your affiliation. And so I think as Zimbabwe, we've seen these symbols all our life, right? For the past 40 years, that's been the symbol that individuals have identified with politics. And we are saying as UZA, we are uniting Zimbabwe. We even say, hold on quite tightly because we are making sure nothing comes between us as Zimbabweans. So we say, our slogan is Ngati Batanei, Tichiwaka Zimbabwe. Let's unite as we build Zimbabwe. And so the slogan is pretty much that. That is UZA.
Okay. So Ngati Batanei,
Tichiwaka Zimbabwe.
Let's join hands as we build Zimbabwe.
We build Zimbabwe.
All right. Well, that's it. We had UZA President Elizabeth Valerio join us for our next segment. We thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to Tambarara. Thank you.